This is Sizzle Lean, powered by Fit to Be Trained, coming to you from the Deep End Broadcasting Network studios in the lovely Virginia Beach, Virginia, in the United States of America. You can find this program on deependbroadcasting.com and subscribe to this network's YouTube channel, Deep End Broadcasting. Here's your host of Sizzle Lean, Karen Dougherty.
Thank you, Steve. I've never done that before. I feel so like, oh my goodness, so like legitimate and professional. And I am super excited tonight. I'm super excited. I couldn't wait for this because I have a guest on that where do I start? I got to talk to her last week. And I felt so comfortable and we were going on and on that I thought, you know what, I just wanted to hang up the phone and we're going to do it live now. But the reason why I have Tammy Saunders on is because she is a CrossFit girl and she's more than that. She is a force to be reckoned with in the CrossFit world. And in the Masters division, I believe she's been in there since 2017. Let me introduce my new friend, Tammy. Tammy, how long have you been? Woo!
That is awesome. I love it.
It is awesome. How long have you been doing the CrossFit Masters division? Like 2000s?
Yeah, so I've been doing CrossFit since 2012, and that's when I started doing the Open. But more competitively since like 2017, 2018. Yes. Really the last 4 years are when I really went all in on it, where I hired a coach and I was really like, if we're going to try to do this, let's do this.
Hi, Tammy. This is Steve Murray. Just interestingly enough, and I know Karen's got a million questions, but I'm just fascinated by that. When was the moment in time that you said to yourself, look, I'm in this Masters competitive division and I'm kicking butt. Look at me. Like, what was that feeling like? What was that kind of that pronounced moment? I know we all have those kind of things. Me as a rugby player, learning the sport. I made a fantastic run. And I said to myself, you know what? I can play with these guys. So when was that moment for you? And kind of what was that like?
Honestly, I think in like 2021, I ranked just outside of the top 200. And at that time, the top 200 would go to like the next round. The Masters would get to go to like the semifinals or the online age qualifier. And so I was just outside the top 200. And I was like, all right, my goal is like, if I can get inside that top 200, like I'm doing some big things here. And so in 2021, I don't even know. I was somewhere like in the 76 something. I was inside the 200, and I started at a new gym, and I was talking to the coach there, and we were like looking at our rankings and stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, you're pretty fit. Like you could do something." And where I came from, my old gym, there weren't Masters athletes. There wasn't competitive people my age. Right. So the dream to just get to the next round, that was the dream. It was maybe to get to the games, but that was one of those pipe dreams that you like really don't say out loud to very many people because it sounds so outlandish. But over like probably 2021, and then I met some people here and they introduced me to some like bigger online competitions or like qualifiers. So I did the Legends, which is a 3-day competition. I did the Masters Fitness Collective. I did the NorCal Classic. And I just kind of kept all these things. Like I am the most unlikely CrossFit Games athlete ever. I was not where I was supposed to be.
I can't contain myself.
I know it, guys. It was wild. Like when my coach said, or my boss actually at the time was like, I really think if you got a coach, you could do this. And the whole first year I was like, y'all are crazy. Like I'm not that good. And then I kept like, I would be around in the 70th and the 50th, and like always just right outside. My goal was not to get to the games last year. My goal was just make it to semifinals, and the CrossFit gods aligned, and all workouts fell in my favor. And I was like, I effed around and like made it to the games. Who knew?
Good job, girl. I mean, did you just want to die too? It's like, oh my God, I'm so happy, but oh my gosh. Wow, what a big responsibility, right? You know?
Yeah. And I didn't realize that would come along with it. You know, like I was super excited to have made it, but then I'm like, oh God, now my whole gym, all my friends, all my family had these expectations on me. And what if I let them down? And everyone kept saying, well, what is your goal? And I'm like, guys, I already achieved it. I wanted to go to the game. What more do I want?
Yeah, right.
Right. I'm like, God, no pressure, right? I just wanted to get here and enjoy it.
There's so much pressure to that, I'm sure. You know, I'm sure.
There was, but it was awesome. So yeah.
Well, I had to get that out of the way and talk to you about that because I feel like I have the pleasure of speaking with you because of bigger reasons too. And it may, you know, I was thinking earlier today, like thinking of being in recovery myself. To be in recovery, I had to go through addiction. And when you're in addiction, you're like, oh my God, this is the worst thing in the world, right? You just want to get out of it. And the privilege of, it's a privilege to recover and look at, because of recovery, I get to sit down with a girl like you. And I know that me and you are the same, you know, we just put our pants on the same way, blah, 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 blah. We're both in recovery. But because of recovery, I knew that I could just get you through a message, most likely because birds of a feather flock together. And it just so happens that you happen to be this fantastic athlete in CrossFit, and I love CrossFit, and Steve loves CrossFit, and it's just so fun. And so I really wanted to talk to you about that and get that, because I looked at your stats today, or whatever you would call them, and I was like, God, I'm so glad I didn't know all this yet, you know, because I would like to have you on again so we can talk about the athleticism and all the, because athletes are not all the same, and we're allowed to, like, I'm allowed to revel in your greatness, and it sounds so silly, but it's true. I know how hard it is. And
in other words, Tammy, you're talking to your top 200 athlete. You're talking to athlete 59,000 right here.
I mean, we're not created equal.
Karen's much higher. I mean, I'll give her close.
But you know what I mean? We're not created equal in the athletic world. We're not. And athletes deserve to be patted on the back for taking that extra. We're not created equal. We're allowed to praise those. It's not, it sounds so silly, but it's what's the whole thing's about, isn't it? It's so fun. So, but the reason why I got to have this conversation with you is because of bigger things. And you are in charge of the Barbell Saves Project, which is a recovery program. And I'm going to give the floor to you, but I just want to say, I need people to know that CrossFit this time around, I've been sober for 13 years. I was in CrossFit when I was still using, the last year of my life, for the last year of my using life. I would do lines and go to CrossFit. I'm lucky that I'm alive, you know, because that's a death sentence right there. But I got sober, and then I kept going to CrossFit. You know, CrossFit was one of the reasons that helped me get sober, and I kept going. So it really helped me in my recovery this time. I had been sober for 7 years once, and I relapsed in my adult life, and I was about 38 years old. I had had a son by then, and I relapsed, and I was out for 7 years. So I lost my fortune that I had got, you know, created. It's a small fortune, but it was a fortune to me. And I lost a lot during that 7 years of my family, you know, in important things. You know, I didn't want my son to be raised by an addict. So I did get sober after 7 years. I was out there, and I was always in fitness. I was always, you know, still had my job. I was functioning, but I wasn't functioning. And CrossFit was the big thing that kept me clean this time around. So with that, that's why this is so near and dear to my heart, is I want to be like, I thought about wearing a t-shirt tonight for the Lift program, which is a local program around here. And I was like, hell no, I need to buy a barbell, the barbell Saves Project, and get a t-shirt. Right. You know, because I really want to promote stuff like this and have addicts know how much it helped me. But like I said, the floor is yours. Tell me about the Barbell Saves Project. How long has it been around, and where did it come from?
Sure. So so the Barbell Saves, this building that I'm in, I'm at the gym right now, has been like, it was built out. It was a empty space. This space was created in like 2021. So when I first interviewed for the position, the gym was not, like, the flooring was just being laid. All the equipment was still in boxes. It was still being fabricated. So our founder, the owner of the Barbell Saves Project, his name is Rob Best. He is in recovery, and he found fitness when he got clean the last time. He owned a traditional CrossFit gym, and he kind of like you, right? Like all of us who are in recovery, who find fitness of some sort, are like, that is what saved my life. Having that community saved my life. So when he got out of jail the last time, he was like, I know what I want to do. I want to open a gym. Like, I want a place because this is important to me. He opened his own CrossFit gym, and in like downtime, like off hours, he would just invite his friends from meetings to come and work out with him because he knew what it did for him. So yeah, it was like, it wasn't like a formal program. It was just like, hey, come work out with me. One thing led to another. There was a woman who attended that gym who was a professor of social work, who was also in recovery, and she was like, wow, we could study this. Like we could really study the effects of fitness on individuals in recovery. And they wrote some grants, they connected with some people here in Phoenix, and they fabricated a gym for us. And so we were grant funded at the very beginning. Almost 5 years ago, we ran 2 classes in the morning, 2 classes in the afternoon. There was the owner, Rob, and the social worker, Lindsay, and then myself and one other coach, and not a soul. We had one person in every class. Like, they got one-on-one training.
I'm over here crying, so I'm glad you made me laugh.
It was like, like, hey, guys, we're really doing it. And it's like, okay, one person showed up. But it's like your fitness journey. It's like anything. Like, we just kept showing up, and we're like, we believe that this has a capacity to change people's lives, to help them be more fulfilled, to feel more connected, to give them some skills to life in a different way. So we just kept showing up, and eventually 4 years later, we have this space. We now run 5 classes, community classes. So anybody who identifies as someone with a substance use disorder with 48 hours of sobriety has a free gym membership. I
love it that he gives 48 hours as it, like, my goodness.
And it's
not
really
very much.
No, and it's really a safety issue. For the most part, we have community classes, and then we have we call them private or billable classes. We are contracted with a couple of insurance companies. Access, which is like a Medicaid, Medicare. All of the folks who work here are in recovery. We are peer support certified. So in Arizona, there's this designation where it's more like a behavioral health service. So we are using our lived life experience to help somebody on their journey. And so it's really a behavioral health class, but we use CrossFit as the vehicle. So we're going to put you in an intentionally uncomfortable situation, and then we're going to help you figure out strategies, right? Because CrossFit's
it makes sense, right? It does make sense.
I love it.
Survive the hard stuff
Yeah.
And then everything comes maybe a little bit easier if you can get through the adversity of the hard stuff. Yeah, I get it.
Absolutely. And so we're run really like a regular CrossFit class, those private billable ones. But we do start out with like a check-in score. We start out with a recovery question. So, like, what is one coping skill that you have now that you didn't have before you walked into barbell saves? How do you handle disappointment? How do you handle success? How do you show up for yourself and others? How do you give back? And so the community time is when we really start to look at, we're really kind of in this together, right? Like we're all just kind of broken people trying to be a little less broken and figuring it out together. And it's this beautiful thing where like people who have been coming for a few months, then they become the OGs and they start to take on these like OG roles where they're like, come on, I'll show you the way, and let's go to coffee, or let's go hike, or we really become that brother's keeper, which you see in a CrossFit community, right? Like we're all in this together.
Yes.
So, to me, when I started CrossFit, I lacked discipline and I lacked structure. And I was I don't know if I can curse on here, so I'll try to keep it very PG because I have a mouth. Okay. I was a fucking mess, man. I was a fucking mess. And I was a functioning mess. So I presented like I had my shit together. But I really wasn't. I didn't have coping skills. I didn't feel good in the skin that I was walking around in. I felt not worthy. I felt like dysregulated a lot. And so going to CrossFit helped me figure out how to deal. Like if I could just keep showing up and doing the hard stuff and leaning into it, even when it was uncomfortable and even when I hated it. And I was a huge smoker when I first started. So I'd like chain smoke on the way to the gym. And then I'd get there and my coach knew that he'd never say anything. I told him one time, he's like, do you smoke? I'm like, yeah. He's like, shit's bad for you. You shouldn't do that. I'm like, I know. But never again. He didn't say a word. And then I'd wait till I was, no judgment. He'd wait till I'd wait till I was like 3 or 4 blocks away after class, and I like couldn't wait to light up again because I was so stressed out and I didn't know how to deal. But little by little, I really did start learning coping mechanism. I learned that I could be uncomfortable and okay at the same time. I could be scared and know that I had the capability, like that duality, right? Like for so long I operated like I'm mad and all I can be is mad, or I'm scared and all I can be is scared. But I learned that I can be more things at once, and I can not feel like getting up and still do the hard shit. And that's like a lot of mentalness, right?
Yes, very well said.
Right. So we talk in here to our members a lot about, I'm practicing in the gym for life. This is like my dress rehearsal. If I'm not, if I don't have integrity with my words in here or my actions, or if I don't show up fully for myself, if I half-ass it, if I cheat my reps, if I lie about how fast I went, if I'm totally ego-driven and I'm a horrible winner and an even worse loser, right? And I'm that guy that people are like, that fucking guy over there. Like, I'm learning in here how to not be that guy out there. And I'm learning from other people who have been through it. So it's not some lady read some stuff in a book and now she's telling me how is it to be sober? What is that like? It's just it's different having somebody who's been in it go through it with you than someone telling you how to do it.
Yeah. So, and it's just such a great community already. And then to add this little flavor in there with the recovery, because I joke around. I mean, I just love addicts. Sounds crazy.
We're some crazy people, addicts. Right?
We're fantastic, aren't we? Especially sober and in recovery. And we never, like, we definitely aren't addicts anymore. We're in recovery. So but those personality traits are definitely there. And I think that's why if we take to fitness, we tend to do it well and try hard. We know how to deal with uncomfortability. We always want to do better. And and I find what I like so much about the CrossFit community is that I personally am an addict. I have isms like that, right? In that community, if you weren't in, like, our gym has nothing to do with recovery, but there's all different kinds of personality traits in there that are unique. There's OCD in there. There's the perfection, feeling not worthy. There's a lot of that stuff in that gym that people don't realize. They think that because everybody's so fit and beautiful that and first of all, everybody's not fit and beautiful in CrossFit, right? Like, people tend on the outside seem to think that. And I've always been attracted to that community. I was, like I said, I was still using before. I liked it because I knew I'd be accepted in there, I think is what I'm saying. Now, granted, they didn't know that I was using, but I knew I'd be accepted. If I'm weird and quirky, they don't care. They want you. Are you a bigger girl? Come on in. I bet you could pound some weight.
Yeah, you're strong. You're strong as hell, right?
Right. Like the body, a bigger girl is a great girl in CrossFit, right? Where in other places she might not feel as comfortable. So I just always loved that community for who they were. When I went into North End CrossFit here in Virginia Beach, I was finally starting to piece a year together of sobriety after that 7-year relapse. And I went into the gym and I was like, if you guys don't open soon, I'm going to relapse, joking around. I had no money and they were like, come in, just come. And if you don't have money, we don't give a crap. Come. Yeah. And because it's a vulnerable place, and I had a CrossFit coach in a couple weeks back, and she had called it shared trauma, or we get a trauma bond because the workouts can be a little intense, and it's kind of true. We do build a bond within each community, and then you get us together, and it's kind of this whole acceptance thing. So I didn't mean to talk so much. I apologize. But I just wanted you to, like, I love that you guys are really focusing on the recovery in your place of your establishment. Have you seen, now you said the numbers were at 1, now obviously they're growing. Is it growing in popularity in Phoenix there? The word gets out?
Yeah, it really does. So last year alone, we consider a unique visit each time somebody signs in, whether it's me signing in each day, and I've come 365 days this year, but sign-ins. So we collect data because we have grant writers. We have we get grants, so we're always giving data back. Who are we treating? Are they doing medication-assisted treatment? Did they come from a sober living? Come from a residential? What's their race? What's their ethnicity? All of that kind of stuff. Is it alcoholism or like alcohol? Is it opioids? What is the drug of choice? So lots of different data. And last year alone, we impacted over 10,000 people in the Phoenix area. And that is through, it's amazing. So we take classes. We take classes outside of our 4 walls. We go to prison reentry programs. We go to, there's a thing called the Arizona Women's Recovery Center. So women who are reunified with their kids living in like apartment style housing, taking classes to those little communities, taking classes to schools, having schools come here, having sober livings, residential treatments, just really anybody that we can get in our 4 walls. And in Arizona, specifically where we are in Phoenix, the fentanyl epidemic it's wild. It's wild.
Insane, right?
And I don't know if it's the same where you guys are. I grew up in a household, with addicts and alcoholics. It was something I was around for a long time, and all like very functioning, very not functioning, right? People who you're like, man, there's shit going on, and some people you're like, wow, I never knew. And here it's to get to our gym. In fact, where we're located is it's kind of in the heart of it. And so it's nothing, we are connected to a fentanyl clinic. Part of our biggest funders are a fentanyl, like a medication assisted treatment center.
Right.
It's called Community Medical Services. Huge supporter of ours. They're actually the ones who fabricated this. We said, hey, we have this wish list and this is what we need to like build a gym that we can be proud of. And they delivered because they know the benefit. But it's, it's hard to stay sober here for a lot of people. There's a lot of triggers everywhere they go. And so some of our folks, the hardest thing is just driving through our parking lot and they're like, man, I sat in my car because I used to use right over there in that hotel.
Right.
Like, this is hard shit.
I know.
And if they can get in the door, if they can get in the door for the first time, we have them. Like, we have them because we are just going to love on them. We are going to love, support, and encourage them in a way that they've never felt accepted. And that is, I think, the number one thing that we hear back is that you actually see me and you hear me. And we've really I think that there's a lot of stigma in and around recovery and sobriety and what people look like and what they act like. And so breaking that stigma, not only for the outsiders looking in, but breaking my stigma, the stigma I put on myself of what does someone in recovery look like, or what does it mean to be in recovery? So another thing that I didn't touch on that
apparently I really want CrossFit champion. Sorry. I just say
right? So it's really wild too, because some people won't say I'm in recovery. They won't say I'm an addict. They won't say I'm an alcoholic. Those words are too stigmatizing to them. Yeah. So when people come, it's like, oh, okay, well, are you in recovery? No, I'm not in recovery. Oh, would you agree that you have a substance use disorder? I mean, no, not really. Sure. Have you ever had any negative consequences because of, drugs and alcohol? Oh God, yeah, I've had 4 DUIs and I got fired from 3 jobs. Right. But they do not, that label, they're not going to put on themselves. And I'm like, okay, you fit in, you're good. You can come. Do you have are you 48 hours sober? So we've intentionally not promoted 12-step AA or NA. Not that a lot of us go to those meetings, a lot of us prescribe to those programs, but we've tried to make it very whatever recovery looks like for you, whatever that means.
I'm so glad that, because I too took a peer recovery course. I'm not licensed or anything like that. I too wanted to help people in addiction, like women coming out of treatment. Oh, yeah. And, where they've already made the decision that they want to stay sober and they're kind of like, what's next? Because here in Virginia Beach, we need some help when it comes to the treatment department. I'm from Philadelphia and I lived in Minneapolis for a long time, where it's very, you can get sober. It's a little harder here. I've been very spoiled in my past. So it's very different dynamic here. And I'm not sure that I can speak about it because I don't know enough about it. I just know that I feel like in my last 13 years of being sober and in, trying to help others get sober, it's a little more difficult than it is in those other 2 cities. I want to be involved somehow. And you said something about the medicated assisted, and I wanted to touch on that. I reached out to some programs and as myself, as a coach, and said, hey, how do I get involved in this? And they too, to me, were very helpful. Very like they were to you guys. Very helpful. Introduced me. Nothing took off from it as of yet. But I wanted to put that in there, that I too found the medication assisted staffs very kind and really wanting to help get people sober, because that's different than the 12-step and all that stuff, because I'm older and been in treatment off and on since I was a little kid. I was like 12, 13. And so NA, they didn't even have NA yet. It was AA. Yeah. And so then what I learned in that recovery program too, that I took to help in coaching, was how many new ways to get sober there are. So I love the fact that you are willing to open up
Oh yeah.
other than the NA and the NA way, because that was a little rebellion on my part. I was tired of just having that up. I wanted more opportunities, and I didn't want to be bound by those programs, even though I too agree with them.
Absolutely.
It's hard not to agree with them. They've gotten so many people sober. So
absolutely.
But I just needed, I'm actually in a group now online. I wanted to touch on, even though I'm 13 years sober, coming up on 14, we still have issues in recovery. So I had to go back into therapy.
Yep.
I am in a group online that isn't NA or AA, but it is recovery based. So it is unique and different, but it's not. We still have 12 steps. We still go through all, and we've all been in the 12-step programs too. So I love that you guys at your facility, or I don't mean to call it facility, it's really a gym, at the Barbell Saves Project, are open to all different ways to get clean. There are many, many different ways, and I appreciate that so much. I was wondering if we would get to touch on that tonight. Do you feel like, are you seeing any difference? Is there more women than men? Do you find that it's equal, that you're reaching both populations, or how does that look for you there?
So we are, I would say it is probably, it kind of ebbs and flows. So our community classes, I would say it's about equal, maybe a little bit heavier toward women.
Wow.
I would like to say it's because we have a very, very strong head coach who runs.
I believe it.
No, I'm teasing.
They're harder to get in there, though. I'm so grateful to hear this.
I think what it is, though, is I think that women, when they first come, will bring another woman. I'm more likely to come with my girlfriend than to come alone. So we might get a guy start, but we'll probably get 2 girls, or a girl will tell her girlfriend, where I don't know that guys do that. Guys might be like, oh, hey, you should check this out. But they're not going to be like, no, I'm going to come pick you up and we'll go together and then we'll go have brunch, or we're going to go have coffee, where I think women do. Our private classes, we have right now like 3 groups that come that are mixed. They're guys and girls mixed. And then we have a group who comes 3 days a week. They're about 15 men. And then I have a group of women who come, they're in a sober living or a residential treatment. It's just an all women's facility. And that's probably anywhere between 12 to 17 who come once a week. And it's, there is something to be said about, especially early in recovery, having a men's group and a women's group, because I think sometimes the conversations look a little bit different when that is out of the equation. I think that women are a little more vulnerable when there aren't men around sometimes. And the same for men. We have groups of men and who probably aren't talking about their emotions, and they're not being really super vulnerable. But when myself or one of the other men coaches, or even our other female coach, kind of talk to them, and we're just really honest. We're like way authentic. And I'm like, listen, I don't know what your recovery should look like. Fuck, I'm trying to figure out how I stay sober today. But what I can tell you is, here's some things that help me. And one thing that we really do here is, a couple years ago, the people here, my boss at the time sent me to a training. I'd been trauma informed in my other life. I worked at a high school. I worked as a DV advocate. So I've done a lot of other stuff. But there's a course called Trauma Informed Weightlifting, and it really talks specifically about gym culture and people in marginalized populations, and like those like at-risk populations. So mental health, addicts, alcoholics, young people, certain racial groups, certain ethnic groups, women. So we really come from a trauma-informed approach here. We are very intentional with, I'm not ever telling somebody what they need to do necessarily, but I'm going to say, hey, have you considered this? I mean, I am when I'm coaching, I have to give cues, but
Right.
Right. But even then, it's like, hey, this is what I'm going to tell you works for most people. Let's give it a try. How does it feel if we do this? Can I put my hand on your shoulder here? I'm going to stand right behind you so I can watch your back angle. Are you comfortable with that? What does it look and feel like if I have you shift your weight onto your toes? So it's really intentional, and it's really about giving power back to them, giving them.
Well, that's what I felt too. Like when you were saying that, like what a great place to feel safe. When you're in addiction, you don't get to feel safe very often.
And you feel often
And to
really
have
powerless.
somebody say, literally, I'm here and I'm watching your back. I mean, just those
Yeah.
words alone are soothing to
Yeah.
us in recovery, and myself just hearing
Yep.
even your cues, and no
Yeah.
wonder why we're so attracted to that
Yeah.
world, and you're providing a world that's even more intense in that, and I'm just
Yeah.
so over the moon and interested in this. Let me look at my little cheat sheet here.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so with everything, obviously,
Yeah.
you're going to have your tough times with that job. You're going to
Yeah.
see some stuff that's going to maybe try to break you down or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but how do you hold up in those moments? I mean, you don't need to share specifics, but maybe give some examples of some of the things that can go bad that you have to deal with. Besides the good, obviously, you're doing a lot of good.
Yeah.
So how do you get over those obstacles, etc.?
Sure. I would be lying if I didn't say this kind of work. It's hard work. It's emotionally tough work.
Very draining.
And holding space for people to be themselves and to not know always how to behave in the right way or to react in an appropriate way or what we want to see. So we are, again, very intentional in this space. For me specifically with our coaches, it's a lot of check-ins. It's a lot of, hey, how are things going? Oh, wow, that was a really tough class. Like, are you good? Do you need to take 5? How do you feel?
Right.
Do you want to come in late tomorrow? So we're very transparent with, look, this is some heavy shit that we do. And sometimes, depending on the day, we have people who come in and they seem like they're doing really, really good. And then we don't see people for a while. And then, like extreme cases, someone passes away. It hasn't happened a lot, but it has happened enough that we've had to be like, let's first and foremost, we are human. Are you okay? What do you need from me in this moment? Like, just how do I best support you? What do you need? Some of my coaches are like, I'm cool. I'm going to go work through this on the floor, and then let's chat later. It's just a lot of holding space. It's a lot of being able to. So I am Wonder Woman. I don't know if you know this, and I don't like asking for help. And so
I know that you are. I saw it. I saw the stats.
my trauma. So my triggers, like the thing that I struggle most with even now, as far along as I am in my journey, is the way people perceive me. And for me, when I came into this space, is if I said this, I'm really not doing well emotionally and mentally, and I need to take the day off tomorrow. To me, that would signal that I am not enough. Like, I'm not, whatever it is, enough to do the job. It would look like I can't handle it. I wouldn't have been able to do that 5 years ago. I wouldn't have been able to be like, I can't do this. Today, I can say, I don't have the capacity for this. Today, this is my window of tolerance it's done. And so we've just created a space where it's perfectly okay. Like, we are human beings. We are also all on our own recovery journey. Some have been sober for a really long time. Some, a year in.
Yeah.
And so that's a really great question. And I'm glad you asked for it, because this type of work, whether it's like advocacy or working, with kids or working with victims or whatever that, social worky kind of world, it's a heavy world, and it takes a toll. So like you said, for every, 20, hell yeah, we fucking did it, there's someone that's like, man. And sometimes, listen, I love people in recovery, but we're fucking a lot sometimes. We are fucking a lot.
I know.
So I'll tell you a story. We have lots of different people in our community, and I used to say when somebody would kind of lash out or they would be very vocal or they would to me, I was like, damn, why are you like chill? Like, what is wrong with you? That was my first thought. What is wrong with you? I really have to catch myself now and be like, there is a need there not being met. And my job is to figure out what does that person need in the moment? Because like they're feeling something. They're feeling unsafe, unsure, unnoticed, unvalued, unseen. Some is happening, and I need to figure out what that is so that I can reconnect with them and like figure out how, like we got to figure this out together. Sometimes that's it, is saying to them, I don't know what's going on with you today. Like, this is very uncharacteristic, and I'm trying to meet you where you are. You got to help me. You got to work with me, buddy. Like, tell me, well, how do I best support you? I find I have a lot of conversations like that. How do I best support you?
It's like straight up coaching, like really, like
it really is. Like
really getting life coaching these clients are getting.
I'm going to guess nothing shocks you either at this point in life, right?
Oh, there's some crazy shit we've we've seen.
I mean, I feel like I've seen it all only because of my weird past myself.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, there have been times that where our building is, it's kind of it's a very colorful neighborhood. We see lots of things. Just, people just struggling, just not quite where we are yet. And well-intended people. So sometimes we see people not really dressed, doing things outside. I probably wouldn't do. Maybe using the restroom. Maybe, it is Phoenix. And it's some wild stuff. Usually in our building, though, I can actually say it's been very minimal. And I think that we do a really good job of coming across as, I'm going to meet you where you are, but we got some boundaries. Like, we got to agree on some certain things. But, people just not knowing the rules of etiquette, of like, maybe when we're in a building, we keep our clothes on. Maybe we don't go to the bathroom right outside the back door. Maybe we,
Right.
I don't know.
You know what? This is legitimate too. Like, I don't mean to joke around about CrossFitters, but they are known to not have very many clothes on. And then you're dealing with recovery addicts.
Yes. And so we are one of the rules of our gym is that you can't, women or men cannot take our shirts off. And I've learned the hard way that I can work out with a shirt on. Right. And don't go to the bathroom outside the back door. I know, like, whatever. But yeah, we've seen some wild stuff, but I mean, I think what it's done is I think whatever field you're in, my roommate is a PT, and she'll have like really gory wounds and like really gross stuff that she wants to show me. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, really, like, what happened to you? This is what like you want to do for a living.
I know.
But they have the ability, to laugh about it or joke about it in a very inappropriate way to anyone outside of it. So I think that's what we've learned to do too, is like to our trauma response is to like find a really kind of inappropriate joke that we would tell away from everybody, not like in the midst of it, but to deal like whatever, like some days it's like whatever means by any means necessary. Like
you're working in the trenches. And I always said that I love the trenches. I feel most comfortable in the trenches. I like it there. You have to have some coping skills to be in that realm. We as addicts can get caught up in the trenches. So I love anybody. I love that you guys have the jail, people coming out of jail. And that's why I kind of mentioned about the women thing. Like, there tends to be more facilities for men. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. And to hear that you have so many women is fantastic. I kind of want to circle back to you and like what first got you interested into fitness, and then what made you choose CrossFit specifically?
So I had absolutely zero desire to start CrossFit ever. When I was really young, I was a gymnast, like very young. I was a gymnast until I was probably like middle school-ish, like junior high-ish. And it kind of started to like, you either had to be really, really dedicated, which really required a lot of money, and my family just didn't have it. And I realized that you could get hurt, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to do that.
Right.
And I always had like, I was active. I was an active person. I did things. I played like rec volleyball. I do a pickup softball game. I would do things like what, when you'd have a job and like, hey, we have a softball team, I would go and do that. But really,
Right.
my brother found CrossFit and started going. I saw the difference it made in his life. It was super impactful. He shared with me that it gave him a sense of belonging that he didn't really feel. It gave him a sense of accountability, camaraderie. And it made him he's like, I'm learning to do hard shit, like without other things to cope with. It was like a really good coping skill for him. It was a healthy coping skill. And so he'd been doing it about a year, and he wouldn't fucking leave me alone. And so I was like, fine, I'll go. I'm not even kidding.
Thank God. I'm so glad he pestered you.
He did. It was him. And then my daughter was like, I'd like to try it. So I went to a class, and I am not lying when I tell you that the very first class I went to, I walked in, there were all these guys without shirts working out. And I was like, hey, hey, maybe I'm in the right place. And then I watched the workout. And what I did see is like all these different fitness levels, like people were super fit. There were people who seemed super new to it, all body types, all body shapes, all abilities. But at the end of it, they were all laying on the floor, and there was this something. Right, exactly the same. And there was this something that they had, and I didn't know what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was this something, and I was like, I don't know what that is that those people want, but I am not going to stop coming until I figure out what it was. And it really took me, and from that day I was hooked. That is so cliche, and it was like, I don't remember what the workout was. I remember a couple of the movements, but I just remember. And later I would realize is that I don't know, they had a quality of life that I didn't have. They had purpose. They had
does give us purpose, doesn't it?
Forward to when they got up. They had a group of people who cared about them, who noticed if they showed up and who noticed if they didn't, who said, you fucking crushed it, even if they finished last, who just genuinely cared about them. And I realized through this evolution that I was really living the same day every single day. I would get up, I would smoke cigarettes, I would drink coffee, I would go to a job I fucking hated because I had to put food on the table. I was in a marriage that was not fulfilling. I felt I was failing as a mom. I, at that point, was sober, but I was a serious problem gambler. I had traded at that point one addiction for another because I was married to someone with a substance use disorder. And I did not want my kids to grow up that way. So I'm like, you're not going to see me drinking. So I felt gambling my entire life away was a much better addiction to have because they didn't see it, right? They didn't see
what did you gamble on? What were you gambling on?
Oh, I would go to the casino. I loved roulette. I loved slots. I like the rush. I like that thrill. I like dopamine hit. And I started stealing from my job. I had a really great job. I worked my way up from a server. I was a general manager of a really high-end resort restaurant in a small town in Illinois that was really a big tourist town. And it was a big deal to have the position I had, and I just fucked it up. I did. I gambled it literally away, and it was so wild. I didn't understand the correlation. That it was the same thing as my mom
did the same thing in addiction. Yeah,
drinking or drugging their life away, and being financially, emotionally, spiritually bankrupt. And I found myself in a place where I had to go tell my boss, I stole all this money from you. And I'm such a bad thief that I went and told on myself because I was like, I couldn't live with myself. Because you're starting to see
you have a conscience. That's good.
Right. I mean, it was an addiction. Obviously, it wasn't you. And
I remember him for months afterwards being like, what did I ever do to you? Why? And I couldn't, I'm like, listen, it wasn't personal. Like, and I couldn't get him to understand that in my right mind, I would not ever do that. But in my addictive mind state, that seemed perfectly okay. Because in my head, I had this plan of how I would pay it back before anyone. Like I had,
of course, I knew that you were going to say that. Of course, we all think we're going to pay it back or do something. Yes, I totally get it. It doesn't even faze me when you said that. I knew you planned on giving it back. That's why you told on yourself.
Man, it's not a big deal. It's going to be cool. But you know, and so that was where I was at. I had, so when I found CrossFit, I had probably quit gambling maybe 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years. So I was sober. I would drink very, very rarely. But when I did, I was a blackout drunk. I might not drink for 2 years, but I would I don't believe I've ever in my life drank where I didn't black out. I don't know what that means. I don't understand people who have a beer with their dinner. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know why the fuck you would do that. Like I'm going to like blackout town or I'm not going. Like it's all or nothing.
18 pack or nothing.
Right? So I was divorced. My mom had died from her disease of addiction. I had gambled my life away. And I don't want to say I was at rock bottom, but I was at a place where I'm like, now what? What am I going to do? My brother had me go to CrossFit. And for the first time in my life, I was like, wow, it just makes me feel a way that I'd never felt before. It made me feel fulfilled. It made me feel okay about myself. It made me feel like maybe I can do hard things. Maybe I can live a different way. Maybe I don't, maybe that I believed that the way I was living was the way I was always going to live because that's what I saw my mom do.
And it's kind of, we get in a rut.
Yeah. And I was like, so this is who I am. I'm the lady, like my kids joke when I stopped smoking and like started CrossFit. They're like, we never saw you without a cigarette in your hand. Like, I don't even know what that looks like. Like I just
have a barbell.
That's when I quit smoking too, to be honest. That's funny.
You have a barbell. It takes 2 hands. You can't smoke.
I don't realize cigarettes exist anymore. Literally, I don't realize cigarettes exist.
I will smell it. Like, people still smoke. Who smokes anymore? Like, who does that?
It's funny that y'all are saying this because I'm dying for a cigarette right now as we talk. Yes, but I won't do it. Don't worry. I won't do it. I mean, that's why I'm in therapy. I'm in a spot in like where people don't realize when you're in recovery, like I'm not going to relapse. But I'm in a dangerous spot. So I've got to be careful. I mean, I've just been in my personal life, just been really under the gun with stress and really coped with it really, really well and really well. And I'm even almost through some hard times. I still got a little bit more to go. But like I felt myself caving, and not that I would relapse, but what people don't understand as addicts, wanting it is just as bad. So I wanted to go to get help because I was wanting to use, and I was wanting a cigarette, and I was wanting, not that I wanted to drink. Well, maybe you could even say I wanted to drink or do drugs because I just wanted to escape somehow or another. And I still do, but I'm I've been in therapy for probably about 3 months now. And I found that group that I try to meet with at least once or twice a week. And it's really helping. And I'm reaching out to gals like you for, this was more for just curious of, I had this podcast and I'm like, who are these people? This is everything I've ever wanted to be around. And unfortunately you're in Phoenix, but with the internet and all that stuff, being able to like contact you like I could through Instagram. And by the way, it was Steve who said, have you heard of this gal? And I was like, no. And it was in a podcast. It was like in one of my first podcasts.
So what it was is because it happened midday, and it was the CrossFit Games showdown where they had the announcement, yes, and they had you at the beginning, or maybe it was at the end. And it was a Sydney Wells.
The announcement,
she's watching alone. So
That was wild.
and then I
I'll
heard a
tell you.
story, and I said that'd be perfect. Karen sold herself a little bit short here. This lady has been nothing but strong and phenomenal down here, and a good positive influence. And I haven't seen you slip at all, young lady.
Karen,
So, I know her son gives her a hard time a little bit here and there, and
a little bit,
and a lot to put up with just overall. She is a very, very strong woman, Tammy. So don't let her sell herself short a little bit to you.
I think too what I think what I have found is I don't know what I honestly don't know. It has to be a God or universe, whatever you believe in.
Right.
It is that thing that I have not smoked, that I have not picked up a drug, and I haven't done drugs in a really long time, or that I haven't drank or gambled. I've been more. I can tell when I am going through it, when I wake up and I'm thinking like, I didn't ban myself from the casinos in Phoenix. I could probably go to a casino, right? Like I don't have a plan to go to one, but I know shit's real twisted when that starts to, and I'm not so far recovered that I don't know that. And then I got to speak it out loud. I got to tell somebody because that secrecy, that's the fuel, right? So the fact that you're sharing it and you're reaching out and you're doing all that, I mean, that's the hard work. That's the strong shit.
I relapsed after 7 years of sobriety, and I was doing the best I'd ever done. I had over $1 million worth of property. I was a big sister. I was like, and I mean big sister, like a mentor going into I didn't have a son yet. I was going in. I got like volunteer of the year in Minneapolis. I was going into all the juvenile detention centers, working with the young. I wanted to open a halfway house for girls. I was finding so many young girls in Minneapolis that their parents were incarcerated or on drugs, and there was a whole youth that were being neglected. And, you know, literally some of these girls are out turning tricks. They're 16 years old. They got nowhere to go. And anyway, I somehow relapse came in the scene, and I really believe it was a hormonal issue. I had gotten pregnant, and I didn't get to carry the child to term. And I think that even though that doesn't happen, there's so many hormonal fluctuations that we weren't really aware of back then. You know, that was 22, 23 years ago. Hormones weren't really talked about. And I realize now when I went through menopause that I had a lot of the same feelings, a lot of depression that just came out of nowhere. I had a good life. I had everything I needed. And so I thought to myself, I was like, this is how I relapsed last time.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, you know, but all I know is that it just came out of nowhere. And I look at my life, when I put it under a microscope, there was a lot going on in my personal life. I was younger, and then I got pregnant during relapse. I joke with the young girls. I'm like, that can happen to us too. I was 38 years old, and I've been a single mom from the time that he was conceived. So, but I did get clean 7 years later. And I lost everything that I had gained in that 7 years. And it didn't take long to gain a lot in my 30s, you know, clean and sober and just out there killing it. You know, the economy was a lot different. And, but I managed to lose everything and raise a son. And the hope and strength is that I've never been happier. And even though I'm in a like shaky ground area, I know to go to professionals. I've got a great therapist who's in recovery herself. Fantastic therapist. I'm just opening doors, reaching out to people like yourself. And what was so cool about it is I realized today, you know, I was like, this is a privilege that addiction brought me. You know, granted, I would have been looking at your stats going, or following you on Instagram and going, oh my God, she's so great. oh, I would like to be, blah, 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 all that. And realizing just because we were both alcoholics, I could just call you on the phone and go, hey, check this out. I got this.
You absolutely can.
It really puts us on an even playing field, which is really cool. That's what the privilege of being in recovery does for us.
Right. Well, I think that, we're supposed to be connected, right? As humans, like we're hardwired for connection. We're supposed to be in community. And I think that the thing that, whether you go to a 12-step meeting or you go to a group therapy session or you go to whatever it is, you have an online community or you go to a regular CrossFit class or jiu-jitsu class, like being in community with other people who just allow you the space and grace to show up as you are on any given day it's huge. And you have my number. Well, you have my number. You just reach out.
I do now, girl. I do now. And me and you are on an even playing field. And I do want to, when we're here, but we're not athletically at all. And I want to, if I could, have the privilege of spending time with you in the future where we do get to just sit around and talk about the athletic part and the actual barbell and the all the funny, fun things about CrossFit that people really don't understand. And I would love to do that, but I always joke you got to work before play. And I think with you and I being in recovery, this Barbell Saves project, like I said, I've never cried during a podcast yet, and this one really moved me to tears. I'm so impressed with what you guys are doing in Arizona, and I really want to be a part of it somehow or another, even if I'm just buying t-shirts. You know what I mean? Just silly things. I really want to continue this conversation, or anything I can do for you or your programming, please let me know.
The East Coast section.
Yeah, that's what I had even thought. I was like,
the Barbell Saves Project East Coast.
Yeah, like CrossFit, it is they're very welcoming to stuff like this, and we don't really have anything going on right now, so don't think I'm not gonna.
We know Coach Emily. We can probably
ask some get some people to listen to this podcast and see what they say.
And have them reach out to me, or have them follow us at have them jump on our website at thebarbellsavesproject.org, or reach out to me. And I am really an open book. I will help anybody figure out how to open, maybe not a brick and mortar, but whatever it takes. Let's walk and talk to see what that looks like.
Right. Or even hold events that can, just, I don't really know where this will go. I'm sure it'll go somewhere positive. And it's been a fantastic time sitting with you, Tammy. I don't even want it to end. So I am keeping your number.
That's the fastest hour we've had.
And you are such an approachable person, so humble and so kind. And I know why you're staying on the road of recovery so well. Like you said, I'm not sure how I'm doing it. It's because you're giving back so much to addicts that need. Sometimes it just takes a little helping hand or someone to say, I got your back. And you are doing that day in and day out. And I can't thank you enough as another to all our brother and sister that are struggling with these kind of problems, that there is help, and there is people that out there like yourself and myself and Steve, anyone that are willing to help in any way that we can. And I can't thank you enough for coming on and spending time with me tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you.
I know. It just means a lot to me. It really does.
Tammy, let me ask you this, and I don't know if you ever thought about it, and I'll just kind of give you a backstory just about me a little bit. And maybe this is good for the audience heard my. Well, Karen interviewed me about my rugby stuff a few weeks back.
One of my favorites.
This is a little bit more personal since she got more on a personal level for herself. But you're talking to a long time gambler, someone who's a drinker. You brought up fentanyl, right? And the thing that probably actually scared me away from doing cocaine was fentanyl about 10 years ago. I said, I'm not putting this, enough's enough. I'm done.
Right.
Okay. And able to walk away pretty cleanly. I was able to pretty much cold turkey anything. If I don't want to drink, I don't have to drink. I can go months and months if I don't do it. In fact, I prefer not to. It's almost kind of disgusting to me at this point of my life anyway, if I do it. But my major is broadcast journalism, and I've done sports radio forever, and I've decided to try to keep my resume up by building my own YouTube channel, my website, and I provide unique programming. One thing I was going to ask you, in a minute, if you ever had like a paranormal experience or seen the extraterrestrials out there in Arizona, because I have a unique program about that. But I don't know if you've ever considered doing like a podcast on your own, but I can tell that you have a knack for just carrying a good audience and being very funny too as well. So if your project or you ever wanted to do your own sort of show, then I would definitely be happy to donate my services on my platform to you guys. And it's as simple as that. You get on your computer and you can talk to anyone in the world.
Steve, you should put the clapping thing on right now.
Hey, Karen, I'm not trying to. Karen, I'm not trying to fire you or nothing either. Obviously, but I'm always looking for good content and good people, and I can tell you have a good message that can. So you ever are bored and want to cuss on the radio or TV for 45 minutes, I can accommodate that for you.
Okay? Listen, I will absolutely be taking you up on that. It's wild. When I stopped doing gymnastics when I was when I was younger, I started doing theater. And my big dream was I was going to go to New York and I was going to be on the stage. Like that was like my dream. And then I went there and I was like, I went to New York. I lived in New Jersey and I went to New York like a handful of times. And here, if you give me a microphone, and like kind of like with the CrossFit announcement, I was super, super nervous, but if I believe in something, I love to talk about it. And I feel like I was born to be on TV, but no one but you has seemed to notice that yet. In fact, I have to say this. So at the CrossFit announcement, all these people were taking photos and I was like very in the moment. So I was really unaware of the pictures that were being taken. And someone sent me a bunch of pictures and they had pictures of me and like Dave Castro and Don Fall, the CEO, and Adrian Bosman and all that, like the three wise men of CrossFit. And I sent Dave a picture of he and I talking. And I said, it was at that moment, Dave, that you said, I'd love for you to come work for me at CrossFit. And I was like, or that's what I heard in my mind. And he was like, you're good. That's really good.
No. You got to let them know you're on our show. You got to send them an email and say, hey, check this podcast now, guys.
To be like, come listen to this. But yeah, let's connect. I think it'd be fun. I don't know if I like, it'd be cool just to see what would come of it.
I know. Let's just sit on this. It's so exciting.
On my podcast. And then I can pick her brain.
I know, right? I love it. I mean, I just love the fact that you took the time out, and I appreciate it. And you
guys have been great.
Hope to see or speak with you again soon, very soon. So I hope you have a fantastic evening, Tammy. Thank you so much, again, Tammy Saunders.
All right. All right, Tammy, we're gonna log you off. Thank you.
That was so great. Thank you, Tammy.
Oh, that was fun.
That was fun.
We'll go ahead and get on out of here. We'll play your music for you. All right. The old one.
Are we still on?
Yeah, we're still on for a minute. I just figured I'd tell you, good job. That was awesome.
Wasn't that
was
fantastic?
The strongest episode we've had yet.
Oh, God. That moved me to tears.
There you go. This will make you happy.
This is great. Yeah, this is a great exit song every week.
Yeah, so a strong episode. We'll get some shares there. Hopefully, she'll share that to
we've got some guests coming in that are really gonna knock our socks off, people. And Tammy was a great one to start it off with on such a great subject, and she's fantastic. She's doing a great job in our world.
All right, Sizzle. Good job. We'll see you next week.
See ya.